birth tourism. Have you heard about this concept? Birth tourism. So Wall Street Journal comes out with a story talking about the Chinese billionaires having dozens of U.S.-born babies via surrogate. Okay, video game executive Zhu Bo said to have more than 100 children, and other elites build mega families, testing citizenship laws and drawing on nannies, IVF, and legal firms set up to help them. So the concept of birth tourism is not a new thing, but it's being done a ton by the wealthy in China. So they'll get a woman pregnant, $60,000. They'll send her to the States. The baby's born here. The baby becomes a U.S. nationalized. They get their American citizenship. Then they take the baby, after they get the paperwork to be a U.S. citizen, back to China to raise him in China with the systems that they have, with long-term desires of possibly bringing him back here. Some of the numbers are saying between 750,000 to 1.5 million of kids that this has happened to, according to Peter Schweitzer's latest book that just came out. And as you look into this, there's a lady in California that was just sentenced for 3 years for helping with birth tourism. Yeah, right there, 750,000 to 1.5 million in the last 15 years or so. Chinese elites have weaponized the practice, say author Peter Schweitzer, raising a generation of legal citizens who have no loyalty to the U.S. In this excerpt from the book, The Invisible Coup, How American Elites and Foreign Powers Use Immigration as a Weapon. And it goes down to talk about different stories. In 2012, one nonprofit calculated that about 36,000 foreign-born women gave birth in the U.S. and then left the country. Chinese officials said the numbers are 50,000. And another person here, Salvador Babonas, put the figure even higher, saying with 100,000 Chinese babies being born in the U.S. every year, birth tourism may result in millions of new elite Chinese Americans. So this is what they're describing as a potential Manchurian candidate long-term. What an interesting way of doing this. And the fact that this is legal to do. What do you think about when you think about this birth tourism, Tom?
It's another example of the Chinese think long. They think long game. So let's translate this for you. They see the opportunity to put senators, congressmen, and maybe even a president someday in the United States that does not have natural allegiances to the United States and has radical other views. Oh, that would never happen, you say. The people in Minnesota have put Ilhan Omar in place. And let's name the rest of the members of the squad. So if you don't think that could happen, now go take a look at China saying, no, wait a minute. We're going to do this more sophisticated, and we're going to take the long view of it. I think it's that simple. The global dominance is what they want, and this is a way to create a conveyor system to put their people in power, because they've seen what Ilhan Omar has been able to do, just one person in one generation, creating madness and havoc in the Minnesota House and in the U.S. Congress.
Jeff.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing that we've seen in a lot of different places too. Is the Chinese are using a multi-layered, multifaceted strategy. And again, I think this is why, I think we talked about this last time I was here. The U.S. under the Trump administration has shifted to a Cold War posture, because they have finally woken up to all of these various schemes that have been. I mean, what's the latest thing that came out? The guy with the biolab in Las Vegas that was running the same thing. And I mean, there's some scary stuff here. And when you put all these things together and see the whole big picture, the Chinese have they bought up farmland near U.S. bases. They've got biolabs in the U.S. Now they've got Manchurian candidates lined up. It's a huge, enormous threat.
How do you prevent this, Jeff? How do you stop this?
First of all, you got to have some kind of intelligence. I mean, we would hope that our intelligence services have been actually aware of this kind of behavior, and we're just hearing about it now because it's leaking out into the press. And hopefully they've been on it, but I don't think any of us have a whole lot of confidence that's the case, because the U.S. intelligence apparatus has been distracted by other political things.
How do you fight against the birth tourism from China?
I think you have to at least look at changing the laws so that you don't have birthright citizenship.
How do you change that?
Oh, it's going to be an uphill battle, but you got to get Congress on board. You got to get you essentially change everybody's minds about what citizenship actually means in a situation like this, because the long-term threat is these people, along with all the other stuff that's going on, but these people specifically are going to have, who's going to be backing them? It's not just, China is some kind of vague thing. It's the Chinese government. You've got billionaires. You've got tons of assets that are backing these people. They're going to have all the right education. They're going to have all the right background. They're going to have pedigree, which, let's face it, in our society, pedigree is a form of currency, and it's a huge form of currency. So they have an upper hand on everything that would allow them to infiltrate all these different layers. And they have already done so, and it's not just one thing or another. There's so many different angles that the Chinese have been doing, and I fear that the U.S. has been asleep for so long that just catching up to all of this stuff will take an enormous effort to begin with.
Legally, if you want to spitball and talk about, legally, how do you change that? What are they doing that's illegal? I came, according to your laws, on vacation.
But it's the same thing with all that stuff. The farmland, they did that legally. They bought farmland near U.S. bases, and they can say, well, it's just commerce.
How do you change the law to prevent this from happening versus the players that are ethical players?
You have various states who have said, like I think it was North Dakota. North Dakota said, if you're a Chinese company, we find some kind of, some arrangement with a Chinese firm, we're not going to allow you to buy farmland. It's, local laws that were changed in order to deal with the specific threat that was taking place. That's not going to work in this case, but it needs to be a top-to-bottom comprehensive strategy led by the Trump administration, because nobody else seems to want to do it, that says, this is the threat. This is another threat. This is another threat. We need to have a comprehensive strategy that deals with all these various facets and has some way to deal with these individual threats in ways that actually take account of the fact that it's legal to do this, but it's not. It may be legal, but that's not something that we really want to encourage.
Yeah, so what can the U.S. do about it? What does it say? Explicitly deny visas if primary purpose is giving birth to U.S., require visa applicants to prove medical insurance, ability to pay hospital costs, that childbirth is not the purpose of travel, permanently bar visa applicants caught lying about pregnancy or intent.
There has to be some kind of consequences, though. You can't just say we're going to deny people entry and then they come in.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So the State Department updated rules allowing consular officers to deny tourist visas specifically for birth tourism. This approach avoids constitutional issues and is the fastest lever. Stronger border and port of entry. Ask about pregnancy stage, hospital arrangements, length of stay, financial ability. And then this already happens, but inconsistently target birth tourism agencies. Many birth tourism cases are organized, especially in California, Florida, and New York. Prosecute agencies for visa fraud, tax evasion, money laundering, conspiracy. Shut down maternity hotels. Seize assets tied. Okay, good. What's the next one? End automatic citizenship by statute.
That's going to be the hard one.
Some lawmakers argue Congress could interpret the 14th Amendment through legislation saying subject to the jurisdiction thereof, including children. Reality check. Almost all constitutional scholars say this would fail in court. Supreme precedent. Okay, so skip to the next one. Constitutional amendment. Only true ban. Also the hardest. Truly outlaw birth tourism. Requirement to. Okay, so that's going to be complicated as well. Go back to the farmland that you had with China and the fact that they're all close to military bases. Look at the way they're doing it. Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Okay, you got Fort Moore, Fort Cavazos, MacDill Air Force Base. Look at the way Fort Liberty.
It was also the thing about the biolab. It was found in California. Then apparently they moved to Las Vegas, and it's within a couple miles of a U.S. military facility in Las Vegas. I think it was Nellis Air Force Base or something like that. I mean, this is not a random coincidence.
Fort Irwin, the one Fort Irwin right there, is they do a training there called NTC. NTC is where they would send a lot of the U.S. Army folks to be ready for Desert Storm on how to go war in the Middle East. So it's interesting to have it in Fort Irwin. And then Lewis. Brandon, where are you at with this?
I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward. It's kind of like what we were talking about with Fishback the other day, where we don't want to go to a place where people who immigrate here and have kids, where those kids aren't citizens, obviously. But why not make something where, if you're here for a certain amount of years, if you have employment for a certain amount of years, if you own property, then it's automatic citizenship for kids who are born here. But the fact that we have a situation where you could just be visiting on vacation for a week, and if the kid happens to be born here, it's a citizen. Where the hell else is that the case in the rest of the world? That's just a logical, plain and simple law that could be changed. But I mean, the problem is that half of our government and intelligence agency seem to act like they want the downfall of our society. So that's the tough part, is getting over that hurdle, because half of Congress wants things that are bad and destructive for the country. So, it's a pretty straightforward law that has to be changed, and pretty straightforward parameters for when to and when not to allow people who are born here to be citizens. But the will is the thing that's lacking. For the intelligence agencies, it's like it better not be the first time they're hearing about this for all the resources that get thrown into that.
Would we be surprised if it was, though?
Yeah, my God, we got Palantir. We have the ability to use satellites to spy at anybody in the world anytime. We have them listening to all of our devices with Google, and you're telling me that they don't know that these things are happening?
Gang, once a year we host an event called the Sales Leadership Summit. If you're a sales leader running a business and you want to find out how is the most effective way to move your revenue, watch this clip about the event that's coming up with Sales Leadership Summit. Go ahead, Rob.
Say you're a CEO, you're a boss, you're an executive, you're a leader. Which of these 4 feelings do you want your employees or your sales team to feel the most? Do you want them to like you? Do you want them to trust you? Do you want them to respect you? Or do you want them to fear you? And if I was to ask you to order them and say, I think I want them to like me first, then I want them to trust me, then I want them to respect me, I don't want them to fear me, right? This whole thing that we're talking about. Developing salespeople and a big sales team, which can exponentially increase the valuation of your company, your income, your lifestyle. This is a big problem to solve. You have to get these 4 things in order while you're developing people. Once a year, I host a conference called the Sales Leadership Summit, which is purely about developing salespeople. And we go through this 200-page manual together. This year, we're doing it at the Trump Doral from March 25th to the 27th. And that dynamic of like, trust, respect, and fear is one of the ones that creates a lot of debate. If you want to find out how you can attend this event, click on a link below, get registered. One of our consultants will get a hold of you.
All right. Having said that, click on a link below. This is you have to qualify to attend. You need to do a minimum of $1 million and have 5 people on your sales team to attend this conference. But the link is below. Click on it. Talk to our consultants. They will tell you all about it. Cannot wait to see many of you there this year at Trump Doral.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.